This is The Red Lens.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Cris Von Erik, and as the intro always says, this is The Red Lens. And as everybody can see, our special guest tonight really needs no introduction. He is, I would say, Franklin. I think the term is, the kids use the most yoked guy that we've had on the program. But he is a super successful life coach. He's actually a self-success story, and we're going to get into that.
Good.
But in my opinion, he's one of the guys that if you can get to him online, and we have his links we're going to throw up here very shortly. He's somebody that can really change your life, change your outlook. Again, he is the embodiment of his company name, which is the Bulldog Mindset. Mr. John Sonmez, how are you?
I appreciate the introduction there. Yes, I spaced it. I totally spaced it. I have to be honest with you. I was like, oh, there's something I'm supposed to do at 6 tonight, and then I ran upstairs like, oh crap. So
see, Franklin, I knew the time difference was going to happen here. So
you mentioned that, yes,
guys. So, but so how you doing out there? How are things going on where you are in California with everything going on and whatnot?
Yeah, so it's not very bad here. I mean, at least where I'm at, I'm in San Diego. I mean, there was some stuff in San Diego out at one point, but I live in Pacific Beach here, and it's a beach community. Most of our community is college aged, mostly white demographic, and kind of on the upper end of the income scale, or their parents are rich. So there's not a lot, that's going on here. And I don't think riders are going to come in where there's a lot of frat boys with, it would be kind of interesting. I was like, the neighborhood will be defended for sure. But so not too bad,
Like 90210 over there, Franklin.
By the way, are there any bookstores in San Diego?
So, but yeah,
I had a friend of mine, my cousin. She's in LA, and she was telling me that I'm not going to call them demonstrations anymore. They're just out and out riots. Okay.
Yeah.
The only people that are calling this whole thing demonstrations is the media. But anyhow, she was telling me that the riders were making their way up whatever street it was, and they hit like a sneaker store. Then there was a Barnes and Noble. They bypassed the Barnes and Noble, went to the store next to it.
Little did they know that that's where the real gold was.
Well, yeah, that's probably
right?
That's probably it. So I figured to myself, well, either the protesters are more afraid of cops or more afraid of books. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and I agree with you. It's like if you're gonna I'm a big libertarian, right? So I believe in civil liberties. That's the most important thing that we have is freedom, right? So I don't want to see socialism. I don't want to see tyranny. And I don't want to see authoritarianism either. But so protesting, it's a right. I think we should be able to protest, but have a purpose, please. Like, what are you actually trying to accomplish? Then heck, if you have something and you're like, okay, this is what I want to do, I'll get behind you. I'll say, yeah, let's do it. All right. But if you're just out there just making trouble, if you don't have a purpose, like how do you know when you won? I don't, that's the thing. It's like
when there's nothing left to burn, when there's nothing left to loot or pillage, and the cops are sick of shooting tear gas at you, I guess, or whatever they have. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And I'm like you, okay? I'm the first person to say, yeah, you know what? We have the right to demonstrate properly, do the right thing. Okay. It's not even a demonstration anymore. It's mayhem. It's not Dr. King didn't do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not the way it should be done. Okay. But I'm glad you're safe. Beach area. San Diego's the most beautiful area in the world. The beaches are nice. The climate rather beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Now, are you single, married? Do you have any kids?
So I try to not talk about any of my like personal, just because I get so much death threats and hate and
I was going
stuff.
to say so much love from the online community.
Yeah. So I don't really like
right.
to have anyone in my life. I don't want them to be subject to those things just because I choose to be in the spotlight. So
Okay.
No, absolutely. And speaking of the spotlight, and as you planned on getting involved in the things you've done in life, who has been like the inspiring people that have kind of moved you and helped you along in terms of spirit anyway?
yeah, so that's a tough question. So mostly it's been from books, honestly, like from authors, right? What really influenced me a lot with the mindset, which shifted things, was Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way. That sort of got me looking at Stoic philosophy. And then Stoic philosophy has heavily influenced a lot of my thought. In fact, the Bulldog Mindset could be described as Stoic philosophy for today. That's really what's really inspired me a lot. You know, there's been a lot of books. Tony Robbins, Waking the Giant Within. I've been to a couple of his seminars. I feel like, you know, I don't agree with everything that he says, but there was a lot of things there that connected for me, that helped me a lot. Trying to think, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetics, you know, Think and Grow Rich, of course, and you know, just various authors that I've read, I think have really is what shaped me. You know, I read about, I'd say, about 3 to 4 books a week, because and I listen to the audio, just to be totally clear. I'm going to do some print books as well, but because I run, I'm trained for I'll be running an ultra marathon on Saturday. And so I run 60 to 80 miles a week. And so I'm just listening. And that's shaped my thoughts more than anything. You know, just so many books that I've gone through and exploring so many different philosophies and so many different ideas, and really coming to what I feel like just makes the most sense to me. So.
Well, Franklin, I just got really depressed. The fact that John reads pretty much every day, and I'm well behind that curve. So,
well, not for nothing. I read too. Last book I think I read was the TV Guide. Or it might have even been the owner's manual or something like that I bought that I don't know how to use.
now, John, people may have seen you online, actually, even in the past, because you've had a whole other career in terms of work and stuff like that, because you have published books in terms of even the computer world and whatnot. So that I think that's amazing that you were able to do that, and then go from there to what you're doing now. Do you always enjoy computers?
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, I wanted to be a game developer. I wanted to make games. I remember that was the thing that got me into it. And then, you know, as I grew up and started getting into, I actually almost quit software development when I was in college, because college took the fun out of it. It was not quite as fun, and I thought, this is not what I want to do. And then I started working on my own, got a job, actually dropped out of college, and started writing code. And I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. It's like, I would say that one of the things that's really appealing to software development is that it's like one of the rare things you can do in life where you're actually creating, right? Like almost like God, you know what I mean? Like you're creating like new things, like new thoughts, like you're making thoughts into reality. You know, there's very few places where you're able to do that, and at such a level, right? And there's also the challenge of solving problems and being able to, you know, think about things really deeply. So that always appealed to me, right? So yeah, so I did that for about 15 years. I was a software developer, and sort of along that journey, it's kind of weird that I ended up here, because I was shy, I was lazy, I was the typical computer nerd. That's what I was. I was not physically fit at all, right? And I was totally terrified of women. I mean, that was just, I was scared shitless. But what ended up happening is, as I, you know, in my career as a software developer, I started a blog. Actually, that was the first thing, and I was terrified to write, but I was just writing. I wasn't trying to build a business or anything out of it. And through that writing, as that blog started to get popular, I started to realize that I started building this brand, like this name for myself. I was getting on some podcasts, and I was kind of stepping out of my comfort zone. And every time I stepped out of my comfort zone, I grew more, and I was developing myself. And I started looking I started reading a lot of books, and then I started looking at all of these areas that, I remember waking up one morning and I thought to myself, why not me? Right. And that was the thought that rung in my head because, all through school and stuff, I was kind of the nerdy kid, right? I wasn't a very popular kid, wasn't one of the jocks. And then I thought, really, what is the difference between someone else and me? It's in my head, right? Like there's no reason why I can't be whatever that I want to be. So I started pretending to be the person who I wanted to be. I just said, okay, just like an actor playing a part. I started playing that part of the person. And I really thought about it. Like, who do I want to be? What do I want to become? And as I started doing that, it changed my life. I started to become that person, and I started going down this path of personal development. And that's what really kind of inspired me to start Bulldog Mindset and to really teach that, because that was the thing that I had the passion for. And I thought, okay, if I can go from someone who's, this lazy fat fuck who's totally shy and socially awkward to someone who, is able to do the things I'm able to do, build a physique and run marathons and build businesses and be able to even coach guys on women and things like that, and to overcome all those fears, then I can help other people to do that. So that was kind of what moved me in that direction.
Yeah, and I can tell even from the stuff that I've watched, even in the past and leading up to getting prepared for you coming on, it comes through like guys that are genuine and have a passion and believe, just like you said, the transformational thing as you built it in your mind, like this is the end point of where I want to be. It comes through even in your videos when you're instructing and you're talking about things. I think it's phenomenal. I really do.
Thank you.
Does this look like a guy that's shy? I mean,
yeah.
Holy cow!
Now, where was this from?
This was the Los Angeles half marathon, the rock and roll half marathon for, I think it was 2017 or 2016 maybe, and they had a Halloween. It falls right around Halloween,
Great.
so I wore a costume to run the half marathon.
Actually, they had that in Japan too.
We do that. It's not something. It's always we do it to everybody. So it's kind of like a Jay Leno thing. We kind of try to bring something in from the background. So
okay.
Now, in terms of your business and the coaching you give, what separates you and your plan and the program from beginning to end that you offer from all the other guys that are out there that are trying to do those sort of things? What does the guy get that he doesn't get from those other, possibly from those other people?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So it's interesting. There's a few different ways I could answer this. I'm trying to think which angle that I want to take on this, or which view on this. So here's where I'll start. I'll say this. As someone who's quote retired, right? Like I'm doing Bulldog Mindset because I want to do it, right? Not because I have to, right? So what I mean by that is that, I hit what I call retirement, which is in my mind, when you have enough passive income where you don't have to work another day in your life and you can just live a good life, right? And I did that through real estate investment, and I did that 7 years ago. But I tried to retire on the beach, to live in Hawaii and sip Mai Tais and play video games all day. That's what my dream was. I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. Right.
Nice dream.
And I did for like 2 months. And then I was the most depressed and miserable that I'd ever been in my life after achieving this thing that I'd worked for such a long time. And what I realized was that I am driven by pushing myself and really what my purpose is. Right. So one of the things that I talk about a lot is like how to find your purpose in life. I think a lot of people don't know how to do this, and it's a really important question. And so I've discovered what I believe is the way to find your purpose in life, which is basically, if you think about what would you do no matter what station you were in life, right? That no one could stop you from doing. So, for example, if you were the janitor, what would you do? Or if you're the president of the United States, the same thing that you do regardless of your station in life. And for me, what it is I would gather as much information as I could about a topic. I would learn it, simplify it, and teach it to others, right? I have to be growing and learning and sharing with other people and teaching them. I've always done that. I've always done that throughout my life. If I was a janitor, I'd figure out the best fucking way to mop the floor, and then I'd be teaching the other janitors, right? No matter what station I was in life. So what I realized was that was my purpose, and I wasn't living my purpose when I'm just, trying to chill out and just live a life of leisure. And so, getting to why, what is different is that what I'm doing is honestly coming from a place of wanting to improve and help people. And I don't have anything to lose, right? So in the sense that I say there's kind of two reasons now that kind of split from this. One of them is the sense that my motives are pretty pure, in the sense that I'm going to tell you what I think. And if you don't like it and you fire me as a coach, I don't care, right? Because it's not going to hurt, because I don't have to, I think when someone's running their business and they need the work and they need to have the income coming in, they're going to tell you a lot about what you want to hear, right? They're not going to tell you, they're going to be careful. They're going to have a bias or a motive involved, but I can be very blunt and very pure with what I'm saying. And then the second thing about that, I think I'd say also, is that, I've gone through this life experience. I've been the guy that most of the guys that I work with, that they were, or that they are, right? I've been, it's one thing if you've always been like a jock and you've had this successful life and had success with women and all these things, but I've been the nerdiest, shyest guy, lazy, right? I've been all through all those things, and I've had to work through those things on my own. And so I know how to get through them, because I can empathize with it. I've been there before. So yeah, I'd say that's really what it comes down to,
What was the most challenging aspect of going from that person you were before to getting to where you are now? Was it like calorie intake, finding a good workout routine, or maybe it was just sleep and supplements?
It was, honestly, it was mindset. It's mental. All the changes. I am a firm believer that your outward reality reflects your inward reality. And when you look at even just my older videos, right? Just even after I had made some physical transformations, my voice sounds different. My manners, I'm a different guy, right? You look at it, and if you look at some of my first videos on YouTube, you can see I'm 100% totally different guy. And that's because my inner self changed. And so the outward appearance changes, not just from losing fat and gaining muscle, but everything, the whole persona changes. So that was the struggle, is defeating the limiting beliefs in your head, right? We all have these limiting beliefs that we believe we're not good enough. We believe, and one of the big ones that we have that hurts us so much is external validation, is seeking this external validation, right? And a lot of guys, we seek it in women, right? And I did that for some period of time. Like, that's what I want. And then when I got it, it was never good enough, because it was like, okay, the next and the next and the next. And then it's like, okay, at some point you've got to turn that off and say, look, the only person who matters in your life, the only person whose opinion matters is you. Mm-hmm. That was the big fucking struggle for me, was to realize, you know what? I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks about. I care about, someone else can call me a success, but if I know I didn't work as hard as I could, because I know, and if someone else calls me a loser, but I know, that what I did was right in my mind, then it doesn't matter. And in fact, that's the biggest problem that we're seeing today, right? Look at everyone, on Instagram putting, a black square on their Instagram, as if that matters. Right? Do they really believe that? Do they really believe it? Or is it social pressure? They're doing it because they feel like they don't want to get in confrontations with people. They don't want to, they value other people's opinion rather than their own opinion. And so they're doing it to get that praise, to get that external validation, so they don't have to use their own judgment. And that was a big struggle for me, was to stop being like that and to start saying, you know, I'm going to do what I want to do, and my sole focus is, what is my opinion on this? What do I believe, right? So if we're so trained by society to look at other people's opinions and values and to determine our worth from other people, and it's backwards.
Now, Franklin, what's your whole viewpoint on what we're talking about here? You know, you've seen the same stuff.
I have, actually. What I wanted to pay most attention to was, Chris was just asking you, how do you differ from other people, and I guess the results that you have seen. Okay, was that something that, how do I say? In the beginning of the show, you said you did a lot of reading, correct? In the beginning of the show, you said you did a lot of reading. Okay, was that how you knew you would make your brand different than brand X or brand B or anything?
I never really sought out to make it different, because I didn't really set out to make a brand or make necessarily a business, right? It was just something that I wanted to do, right?
But it is a brand, though. You can't deny that it is a brand, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, okay. So don't get me wrong. So I definitely crafted the logo and crafted the branding, and wanted that, once I decided to actually make it into a business, into a brand. But it started off with, if you look at my YouTube channel, it used to be Simple Programmer, because my other company is Simple Programmer, and I made videos for that. And what started happening was, because I was changing and my life was changing, and the things that I was experiencing in life were masculinity type of issues, I started talking about that on my Simple Programmer channel, because that's what I do. Is I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm learning, so this is what I'm sharing. And at some point I realized, I was like, all right, it's time to make a new brand and make Bulldog Mindset, and make something that's focused for men. So that's how that sort of branched out. I guess what I'm saying is that there wasn't like a strategic idea of like, okay, I want to create a business catering to men, and I want to be different from other people. It was more like, I just want to do what I want to do. That's what it came from.
A lot of guys are online doing that right now.
Yeah. Well, that's actually good, because tell you something, programmers generally aren't the most masculine men in the world.
Yeah, in general.
I guess that's changing now, right? That's all changing.
The programmers.
Programmers, nice.
That's it.
Well done.
John, have you ever competed in amateur or pro, like bodybuilding or anything?
I did when I was like 19, like an amateur, like a natural, and I was not, I mean, I looked okay, but I was not at the leanness level that I needed to be. I had no idea. I mean, I was 19, but I haven't really competed since then. It's weird that I got into running marathons and ultra marathons, and instead, it's kind of the opposite of what I'm built for, but I like the mental challenge of it.
Great. That's amazing. I only ask because I can obviously tell, from your physique, and I have friends that are in the industry of bodybuilding and whatnot. So I wanted to find out for myself if you did dabble in that, and you did back then. So that's great.
Yeah, I thought about competing at some point, but one of the big reasons why I never really got into it either is because I didn't want to take the steroids that, like, I wanted to be natural, right? I don't really have anything against someone who takes steroids. I mean, especially if you're going to compete, of course, that's fine, right? But I just wanted to know that everything that I built on my own. I didn't want a crutch, right? I wanted to say, okay, I own this physique because I created this physique and I did it myself. And that was really important to me. And I knew that if I was competing, then it would be silly to try and compete without using the gear that everyone else is using. And even natural is it's really questionable on natural. So
it's, how do I say this? You're not saying that competing without using any steroids or anything like that is not, you're just not going to measure up. Is that correct? Is that what you're trying to say? Really?
Yeah. Well, think about it. Okay.
No matter how hard you work out.
Yeah. Really? Yeah. So think about it this way, right? So my assumption is that pretty much all professional athletes are on steroids, on performance enhancing drugs. Now I'll tell you why. And people argue with me all the time, but this is my logical argument. Feel free to shoot a hole in it if you see a hole, but either steroids work or they don't, right? So if they don't work, then there's no point taking them. There's no point taking the risk, right? Because it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But if they do work, then there's no way you could compete with someone who's taking them. If you're a professional athlete and someone else who also is a very high skill, is pushed at the top of their game, is taking something that does work, how could you possibly compete with that person if you're not also taking it? So that's why I say that they must all be on steroids, or the steroids don't work. And we know steroids work. So, you know, that's kind of my logic for it. Now I could be wrong, but I think it's a pretty compelling argument. So
are there different classes, or is this basically steroids sort of kind of it's unspokenly illegal type of a thing? Are there classes, natural versus chemically enhanced type of a thing?
There is,
or is it don't tell?
Yeah, I mean, even the natural, right? A lot of times the way that people cheat the tests, and some of it is a lie detector test, and
really?
You know, so it's not really. I don't think there's any real pure natural bodybuilding. Not that you can, and maybe there's some organizations maybe that are highly tested, but no one really does really well without gear, as far as I can tell. So,
right. But let's get in the mud here, because speaking of online, you are almost like the Trump of the online community, because there's a lot of people that have a big problem with your like pro civil liberties point of view. Now, I actually think you're kind of right on about it, but I've seen the comments, and you know, people trying to even starting this show, I had somebody do a Photoshop of like a funeral service, and my moniker saying like, "Oh my God, you're having that guy on? Forget it. He hates us." You know, he hates the group he identifies, and guys are very sensitive in the online community to their group. So, again, does that bother you that these people come after you like that?
No, I mean, this is the thing. It's like, all right, I'm a pretty hated man on both sides. It's funny because in the tech world, you can imagine I'm a chauvinist, sexist pig, right? Like, I mean, I'm not politically correct. So in the tech world, the feminists hate me. The LBGQ people, or whatever they're going by, those guys really hate me. All the social justice warriors, I've been canceled multiple times in the tech industry. I had my book unpublished. I had my courses removed from from Pluralsight, which is a developer platform, and you know, literally cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars because I said things that were politically incorrect in the tech industry. So, you know, on that side, they hate me, but it's kind of funny because on the other side, the MGTOW hate me. They hate my guts as well. And, you know, I can't be both, right? I can't be, you know what I mean? Those are two separate extremes. But I'll tell you the reason why both sides hate me, okay? It's because I will not embrace the victim mindset. And the reason why I did a video comparing MGTOW to feminists, okay, is not because they believe the same things as feminists. A lot of people looked at that and they thought, well, they're totally different. And I'm like, are you dumb? Watch the video. The reason why MGTOW are like feminists, a lot of them are, right? Again, when I say MGTOW, I'm not talking about the philosophy itself. I'm talking about the people who are congregating and calling themselves MGTOW on the internet and exhibiting these behaviors, right? I'm talking about the groupthink that we're seeing here. And they're exhibiting the victim mindset the same way. Because the feminists, what do the feminists say? The feminists say, oh, you know, aren't you lucky for being a cisgender white male and you have this white male privilege? And they're saying the reason why I can't get ahead in life is because you're an oppressor. You're oppressing me, right? That's the message of the feminists, right? And the social justice warriors. You're oppressing me because of your privilege, and it's all about power, right? That's a whole social justice warrior movement. But then the MGTOW, right, who should have learned from this, I keep on hearing the same message, except it's the opposite. Oh, it's the women, it's Tinder. It's because of all these women. That's why, you know, they should just, it's because of feminism. It's because that's why I can't get ahead in life. That's why I can't get laid. That's why I can't get into things in life. So I don't want any of that stuff. And that's also the victim mindset, right? So I'm trying to say, look, I don't accept anyone who has the victim mindset. I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't care what you believe. Instead, let's have, that's what I call the Bulldog mindset. It's really a Stoic philosophy, is to say, what can I do about the situation, right? I remember when I first read Rollo's book, The Rational Male, my reaction, I wasn't angry. I was like, oh. I was like, okay. It's like I just read the instruction manual for the board game for the first time. And I'm like, okay, the board sure seems stacked against me, which it does. It's stacked against me. That's fine. But I don't care, because me whining about the board being stacked against me, it does nothing. It doesn't change the board. Unless I can change the whole world, it doesn't change my situation. So instead of I just said, I'm not going to even entertain the idea of how unfair things are. I don't give how unfair it is. Just let me see what is the strategy that I can use to optimize my play as much as possible. And sure, maybe I'm not going to win the game. I don't care. I'm going to play the best that I can with what I have. And any effort that I use in my life to whine about something or bitch about something or complain about it being unfair, it's completely wasted effort. And so I discard all that. So that's why, again, it's not that I disagree with MGTOW guys. And I don't hate MGTOW guys. I love MGTOW guys. I want you guys to come and to learn and to develop yourselves and to become better people and to see and to find the freedom that you have when you don't have a chip on your shoulder and you're bitter all the time. Because I know what it's like, because I was there when I was blue-pilled guy, right, hitting women. But you don't come full circle. You don't get the knowledge of red pill and then go back into your bitter and angry and frustrated ways. Instead, like, hey, let's figure out what we can do. How can we improve ourselves? What can we accomplish in life? And I don't care what women are doing. I don't care what society is doing. Let's focus on what we can improve. That's my message.
Yeah, and I totally agree, because again, I'm over here talking like, obviously I'm an outgoing guy because I'm doing what I'm doing, but my past too, I was very much on that same path of, geez, what's going on? Why aren't these group of girls liking me versus these group? This is garbage. I can't deal with this anymore. And like you said, yeah, I got angry about it, but over time you get a choice. Okay, you can either stay there and wallow in what is, or you can
self-pity.
or you can bring yourself out of that and say, okay, I don't want to be there, and I know I don't want to deal with this, what I'm doing in this particular situation. I want to be better. I want to change my outcome, and I think that's commendable to that. So I'm trying to get Franklin to do that. But
he's actually succeeding.
Bit by bit, one good guess on at a time, and by the end of the year, you'll be a different guy too.
Yeah, I'll be 6% body fat.
Now, John, I always ask this of our guests. Usually like the last thing. You flash forward 10 years.
Okay.
Where are you, and where is the Bulldog mindset? Maybe it's no more and you're on to something else. What are your future plans?
Wow, 10 years. I have to think about that. I really don't plan very far ahead. I like to set a course in a direction and then revise that course as I'm traveling, right? As opposed to knowing, because I mean, my life completely changed in 5 years, beyond whatever I could have imagined, right? In 10 years, it's so different than, I couldn't even recognize myself. If you would have told me what I'd be doing 10 years ago, what I'd be doing now and who I'd be now, I would have laughed. I would have thought it was hilarious. But I mean, I see myself doing, again, if we go back to purpose, right? My purpose isn't going to change. I'm always going to be learning something and simplifying it and teaching it to other people. That's what I'm going to be doing. Maybe it won't be in this arena of masculinity. Maybe I'll move on and go somewhere else. But I think that this one is probably here to stay. I think there's enough. I feel like so many guys need guidance, especially young men today, and they're getting a lot of the wrong messages. So I see myself probably being there. But whatever I'm doing, I'll be, learning what I can, and I'll be sharing it and teaching it to other people. So
I think you have your work cut out for you and your hands full, as you say, for the next bunch of years, because there is a lot of guys out there that
sure enough
are lost, and they need you know, they need mentorship like you, guidance from men like yourself. And I think it's great. I think it's great what you're doing. And I just want to, you know, thank you again for coming on. And whatever it is that you have in the future, if it's a book or if it's, you know, something you want to talk about, you have an open door here. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you having me on. And yeah, it was a great discussion.